Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alaska Seminar Series. My name is Valerie Stimmick-Bailey, and I run the travel blog Valerie and Valise and the YouTube channel and the podcast Destination Alaska, depending on where you're consuming this audio and or video. This is the Fairbanks video, and I am so excited. In the past few years I've been doing this series, it gives me a chance to sit down and talk with different destinations across Alaska to get you the most up-to-date information if you're planning a trip. This is obviously the 2026 series. And for this video, I am joined by Jerry Evans, who's the public relations manager for Explore Fairbanks, who I met Jerry almost 6 years ago. It's probably 6 years ago by the time you're watching this. And an amazing winter trip to Fairbanks, which is where the photo comes from that I used as the cover for this video. And so I'm so excited because I don't think we've recorded one of these since ever. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Not, no.
Yeah, we have not. And so this is Jerry's first time on the series. So like if I had an audience, I'd say welcome to the series. But instead, I will do just a little housekeeping and then hand it over. If you're watching this, it is pre-recorded. So if you have any questions while you're watching this on YouTube, you can put those comments below the video. And I watch the comment section. I monitor my comments all year long. So if you see this in April and you have a question, I'm watching it, put your question there. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get in touch with Jerry or someone on his team and make sure you get an answer. If you are listening to the audio only version of this video, the best way to get in touch with me or Fairbanks is on social media. So probably Instagram or Facebook, and we're pretty easy to find. I'm Valerie and Valise, and they're Explore Fairbanks. So just, write down your questions, hop onto your mobile device after you're done watching, and get in touch with us if you're doing the audio only version. With that, as you can tell, I'm a little bit froggy today, so I'm just going to get out of the way and let Jerry do his thing telling us all about Fairbanks. So Jerry, the mic is yours.
All right. Thank you very much. And I should note that if anybody asks questions, I'll be checking on the YouTube channel occasionally, so I can always chime in. It just might take me a few days.
Amazing. I'll let you know if anything comes in.
Wonderful. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Born and raised in Fairbanks, Alaska, as is my wife, as is my son. We love traveling. We love seeing the world, but we always love coming back home. So whenever I talk about Fairbanks, it's a little different. And I speak with media a lot, and I speak with people, just in general, visitors. So Fairbanks is a lot different. It's depending on who I'm talking to. And when you come up here, it's almost like two different planets. So this is not San Diego where it's the same thing every day. This is where it can go from 70 days of light in the summer to 30, 40 below in the winter. But it's always a great time to visit Alaska. And as it's been said before, oftentimes somebody will come up in one of those seasons, and then they will want to come back up and see what it's like in the other part of the season. So Alaska, Fairbanks in particular, is what we call a year-round destination. Now, I can never diss on any place in the state because it's a beautiful state. But the problem is, you're going to want to see a lot of it. And the way I describe how big Alaska is, I put it into perspective. Some people say it's twice as big as Texas, and it is. Matter of fact, there's a joke that we say, if the people in Texas make us mad, we'll split Alaska in half and make Texas the third largest state. But we won't do that. But from Ketchikan, Alaska to Kotzebue, Alaska, in a straight line is further than Vancouver, British Columbia to Tijuana, Mexico. So it's a large state. There's a lot to see. And Fairbanks is right smack dab in the middle of it. We call it the Golden Heart of Alaska because it's where the heart would be. It's in the center of the state. And our purview, or the area that we serve, goes all the way from Denali to the south, or Mount McKinley in the south, to all the way up to the top of Alaska, which includes everything up above the Arctic Circle as well. So we have a lot to offer. When you talk to the folks in Fairbanks, we call us, as you'll find out later on, I shouldn't get ahead of myself because we have some great slides that will introduce things to you. The one thing that I do like to say is Explore Fairbanks is a great resource. We always suggest that you make Explore Fairbanks the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, maybe one of your first stops, if not your first stop in Fairbanks, because you can find out a lot more about what you can do. And if you already have things planned, you can find out more about what to expect. It just kind of grounds you on your trip here a little bit. So that's what Explore Fairbanks is here for. And we have great people, great resources who like a lot of us, we love meeting visitors and we love meeting new people. So if we want to get into the first slide, we have a few of them prepared for you. In Alaska, we say there's 3 seasons. It's the midnight sun season, the Aurora season, and the winter season. So the first slide here is the midnight sun season, and midnight sun lasts 70 days here in Fairbanks. We call it 70 days of light. So for 70 days, it never actually gets dark. Now the sun goes down under the horizon just a little bit, but even during that time, it's dusk and you can do any activities under enough light to be able to do them. The particular day that is the lightest is our summer solstice, which is June 21st. Now, during that time, we have a lot of festivals. We celebrate the midnight sun season. Summer solstice is the longest or shortest day of the year, depending on how you want to phrase it. But we have festivals during that time. We have all kinds of events. We have the Midnight Sun Run. And we also have something for sports enthusiasts called the Midnight Sun Game. So it's been played for over 100 years. We have a semi-professional baseball team up here, which has at times included Hall of Famers you would know, from Barry Bonds to Dave Winfield to Tom Seaver to the Nettles brothers to Bill Spaceman. The list goes on and on. A number of people that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame have played here in Fairbanks. So what makes this game, the Midnight Sun Game, unique is that it starts at 10 o'clock at night and it plays till about 1 o'clock in the morning, which in itself is unique, but it plays without any type of artificial lighting. So if you want to know how light it gets up here at midnight, light enough that somebody feels safe that they can see a fastball traveling at them at about 90 miles an hour. So I would call that pretty light. So it's a very, very interesting time to be here because of all the sunshine. People get kind of loopy. There's a weird, vibrant energy in the air because it's midnight and the sun is still up. So it's a great time of year to come up and visit because it gives you great bragging rights. As example, if you're a golfer and you take a photo of you teeing off at midnight with your sunglasses on because the sun's in your face, that's bragging rights. So anything that you normally would like to do, whether it's kayaking, canoeing, hiking, to be able to do it at that time of night, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning under the daylight, it just makes it super unique. I tell people, being born and raised here, we all occasionally take a nap on our couch or fall asleep at some point. So if you fall asleep on your couch and you wake up and you look at the clock and it says 2, you have to figure out which 2 o'clock it is because you can't tell by what it looks like outside. It's the same thing. So midnight sun season is an awesome time up here. The summertime offers events that normally wouldn't happen in the wintertime. Like I said, it's almost like visiting 2 different worlds. Everything we have up here is dual purpose. The bike paths in the summertime, the disc golf courses are ski trails in the wintertime. The rivers that you could be going down, kayaking, canoeing, or on the riverboat. In the winter, those are used for snow machining and hiking. So everything with the exception of restaurants, museums, and indoor things have completely different purposes depending on what time of year. So on the midnight sun, I'll take a look at some of these photos up here. Kayaking, canoeing, always a great time, and you don't have to worry about bringing your own up with you. There are a number of great vendors who can rent them out, whether it's a day or if you want to go, there are some very long, day-long or days-long kayaking and canoeing things that you could take advantage of. Some of them just involve a quick cruise down the river. Some of them include fishing. So there's a lot of options. And of course, you can all, again, find that out at the Explore Fairbanks website or through one of the visitors guides, which you're more than welcome to order through that site as well. Gold panning is always a fun activity. We have a number of folks that will take you out and gold pan. They'll teach you a little bit about the history because Fairbanks was founded on gold panning. A little bit of quick history is that Fairbanks, Alaska has always been a boom or bust state. The first boom would have been gold. When gold was discovered in the state of Alaska, that's what brought people up here, and that's why Fairbanks is founded. The next boom would probably be the war efforts, and that made it possible for the Alaska-Canadian Highway, or the Alcan Highway, to be built all the way up to Fairbanks. We have a number of military bases here as well. And then, of course, the last one would be oil. And that brought a lot of money and jobs into the state of Alaska, and still does. And of course, the pipeline runs 800 miles through the state of Alaska from Prudhoe Bay all the way down to Valdez, Alaska. It's an engineering marvel that goes 800 miles over 3 mountain ranges, 800 rivers and streams. Whether you're a fan of the oil industry or not, the engineering feat in itself is amazing. In one of the photos here, you can see the riverboat Discovery. That is definitely a summertime event. It's a great way to find out a little bit about Alaska in a short amount of time. It's a 3-hour riverboat cruise. They give you history of the Fairbanks area. They also have a small pilot demonstration where the pilot will land the plane. You'll be able to talk with him, and then he takes off and buzzes by. So great photo opportunity. They also stop by and visit Susan Butcher's dog kennel. She was a famous dog racer here, a female that won the Iditarod dog sled race many times. And she was even responsible for the bumper sticker that was around a while back in Fairbanks, and you can still see occasionally from time to time, that says Fairbanks, Alaska, where men are men and women win the Iditarod. So that's Susan Butcher's claim to fame, and she's done it a number of times. And then you stop at what's considered Alaska Native Village, where you can go and you get off, you walk around, and you find out a little bit more about the indigenous people that live in the Fairbanks area. Here, the riverboat is going by one of the favorite restaurants in Fairbanks called the Pump House. It goes by there all the time. You might have to plug your ears because when they come by, they honk the horn. Below that photo is a couple that's passing in front of an antler archway, and that's near the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. You can walk through there, and that leads to a bike or foot path, which leads to bike trails where you can bike all around, and bikes are available for rent as well. You can go 5, 6, 7 miles in any direction and visit Pioneer Park, visit the museum, visit the airport, visit a number of our breweries, distilleries, eateries. It's all right there on the river. And Fairbanks is a river town. Chena River runs right through Fairbanks. And that's really the reason why Fairbanks is here, is because E.T. Barnett wanted to set up a trading post during the gold rush, and he actually wanted to go further up the Yukon River, the Tanana River, and then found out they couldn't. So they tried to make their way down the Chena River, found out they couldn't get any further, and they said, well, either you're getting out here or you're coming back. So he got out here. Gold was discovered in the area, and that's why Fairbanks, Alaska is where it is. It isn't exactly the downtown core area is foot friendly, but there are a lot of things up 5, 10, 60 miles out of town, a lot of great things that you're going to want to get to in a number of different ways. Some of them are walkable. Some of them you will need some form of transportation, but there are there's city buses, there are smaller businesses that will take you around to do all. And of course, you can rent a car or rent a bike and take the day and pedal there. So there's a lot to do in Fairbanks during the midnight sun season. Another thing I should mention about this great time of year is this is when our farm to table food scene explodes. Because as you can guess, 70 days of light, it's a very short growing season, but it's very intense. So during that time, the farmers markets are just out of control. The farm to table is great. Like I say, there's a certain energy that's in the air, and it's all because of the midnight sun, and that runs about 35 days each side of our summer solstice, which is June 21st. So that's one of our seasons, the midnight sun season. Let's move on to Aurora season. And a lot of people think when that's the bucket list thing for a lot of people. A lot of people, when they think Alaska, they think things like dog mushing, but a lot of them think about the aurora. And with some of the aurora activity lately, people have been able to see it off in the distance in other parts, even outside of Alaska. But one of the big differences is, and why you see the aurora on all of our publications, all of our pins, why Fairbanks, Alaska is known as, and I can argue, one of, if not the best place on the planet to see the Northern Lights is here in Alaska. So Fairbanks is, in Fairbanks. So Fairbanks is underneath the Aurora Oval, which for one thing means when you see the aurora, you don't see it off in the distance, you see it overhead and all around you. It's happened many times to me where I'll be looking in one direction and seeing this massive aurora display, and then it kind of fades down, as it does because it ebbs and flows. It fades down and I'm like, okay, I guess it went, and then I look around behind me and now it's behind me. So it can fill up the entire sky. So the reasons I say Fairbanks is one of the best places on the planet to see the aurora is, A, we're underneath the Aurora Oval. So we're primely positioned for that. So to see the aurora, you need that activity. We're right underneath it. You need darkness. We all have plenty of that, but you also need clear skies. And that's what makes Fairbanks stand out. Tromsø, Norway is a very famous place for seeing the aurora. And it's a beautiful place. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but in the month of March, as example, in Tromsø, Norway, they have 3 inches of precipitation. Here in Fairbanks, we have 0.3. So that means we have more clear skies. Fairbanks is in the interior of Alaska, so it's more inland, almost a desert climate in the wintertime. So we're not a coastal community where you have a lot of overcast nights. We have more clear nights here. So although I'm not a betting person, if Las Vegas were giving odds on where you should go to get the best chance of seeing the aurora, they would say here in Fairbanks, Alaska. So there's a number of ways to see the aurora. There are a number of different lodges. There are activities. There are aurora chasers that are like storm chasers. And you can really even see it in the city of Fairbanks. It's always best to get outside just a little bit, though. And the good news is you don't have to travel very far from Fairbanks to feel like you're the only person on the planet. It's not that big of a community. So you can see the aurora from in town, and I often do. But the analogy that I give is, if you were to take you can take a computer outside to watch a movie or do some work. And in the daylight, you can still use that computer and you can see the screen. But if you take that screen into a dark room, then you can really see it. So that's what the aurora is like. It's always good to get outside of the city to see the aurora. And there are a number of different ways to do that through tours. And some interesting things that people are doing now, they're combining activities. You can go dog mushing out to a cabin at night to watch the aurora. You can go out. Matter of fact, I'm setting this up for some people very soon, where you can go out to ice fish at 10 o'clock at night with this big picture window. You fish, you catch it, they'll cook it for you, and you have your dinner while you're waiting for or watching the aurora. And there's not much more Alaskan than dog mushing in the snow. Or seeing the aurora, but there's really not much more you can do than to see the aurora while dog mushing. That's kind of like the ultimate feather in your cap. And aurora season, and this surprises a lot of people, aurora season actually runs from mid-August, August 21st through April 21st. And the only reason we say that's the start of the aurora season is because now that the 70 days of light is behind us, it's finally getting dark enough. The aurora has activity year-round, but it has to be dark enough to see it. And about August 21st, that's when it starts to get dark enough. So I think the mistake a lot of people make is they think that you can only see the aurora in the wintertime because they associate those two. Born and raised here, one of my favorite times of year is late August, early September. And that's true for a number of reasons. One, because we're finally starting to get a little dark at night, so I can sleep finally because the sun's not blaring in my window at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's finally starting to get dark enough. And visitors also can do all these summertime activities like the riverboat, kayaking, canoeing, hiking, stay nice and warm. and still have a chance at seeing the aurora. As a matter of fact, in one of the photos on this slide, in the bottom left-hand corner, we call this a reflective aurora because there's a short time of year where you can actually, the aurora has activity, you're able to see it, but it's not cold enough yet to freeze over the water. And so you get what they call these reflective auroras. There are a lot of great ways to see the aurora. There are a lot of aurora viewing cabins. There's a number of places like Borealis Space Camp where you can stay in one of these clear glass domes and sleep and see the aurora overhead while you're in your bed. So there's a lot of great options for you to be able to see the aurora. And that's, again, one of the reasons you can reach out to Explore Fairbanks. If you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to steer you in a direction. We also have, Explore Fairbanks has, we call it the Aurora Map and Guide. So if you're up here, we have a lot of people come up in and book tours ahead of time. We have people, believe it or not, that come into town and go, okay, I'm here, what do I do? For those people, or for those that want to be a little more independent, we have an Aurora Map and Guide that is free to order. We have them at the Morris Thompson Center as well, and that tells you a little bit more about the aurora, your best chances of seeing it, best ways to photograph it. They also have a number of a map inside which tells you some great locations to be able to see the aurora, because it might be cloudy in Fairbanks, but you might be able to travel 20 minutes away, and the skies could be clear because we're in the Tanana Valley. So sometimes that keeps the clouds in, sometimes that keeps the clouds out. So the aurora is definitely that bucket list thing that people want to know more about. And a good suggestion for people who are planning the itineraries ahead of time during aurora season, you're going to want to give yourself the opportunity to actually see them. One of the things we say is if you stay 3 nights and are actively looking, you have a 90% chance of seeing it. Actively looking is the main thing, because some people might, they're strongest, you usually have your best chance of seeing it. It's debatable, but the 10 o'clock night till 2 o'clock in the morning is what a lot of people shoot for. So some people might stay up and it might be 10:30 and they're like, well, it doesn't look like they're going to come out. And of course, they unfortunately get to wake up the next morning to hear all their friends brag about how great it was the night before. Now, there are a number of different lodgings here that have wake-up calls. So if you leave an aurora wake-up call and you can't help it, you got to go to sleep, a lot of places here, a lot of businesses will call you and let you know that the aurora is up so you can get up and see those. And if you're planning your own itineraries, you might not want to schedule something during that time from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 maybe. You want to leave yourself a little sleep in time. You can still, do things in that time if you were not up watching the aurora, but you want to give yourself a nice buffer. Schedule the things that dog mushing and snow machining, the things that you definitely want to do. You probably want to schedule those in the afternoon or early evening. All right, so that's my aurora talk, although I could, as you know, Valerie, I could go on and on and on. So now we have the winter season. I like how they put winter guaranteed here because, you're not always guaranteed sunshine, you're guaranteed daylight. You're not always guaranteed the aurora, but I've never not seen winter come in Fairbanks. It may come later in the year, it may come earlier, but winter will definitely be here. So winter season, and that is just the opposite of our summer season. So the activities in the summertime go from kayaking, canoeing, gold panning, riverboating, all that kind of stuff. And in the winter, it opens up to a number of different things, which of course includes snow machining. Dog mushing is a big one. People don't shut down here in the wintertime. We stay active. We just plan ahead and we do it properly. So if you have the right winter gear, if you're coming from a place where this might be a little cooler, you have it, bring it up, bring layers so you can, because you never know exactly what it's going to be like here. But if you're coming up and you don't have all that and you still want to go dog mushing, you want to go snow machining, some of that, ice fishing, some of that kind of stuff, people up here and the groups that do this know that not everybody has the gear, so they have gear that you can use. That's kind of part of their deal. If you come up dog mushing, you can get out, they'll gear you up, and you go out dog mushing, you set the gear back, and then you don't have to buy all that stuff. So winter is a very exciting time of year to be here for the reasons that I just said. There are a number of different events that go on during that time of year. People always say, okay, I want to come up, I want to see the Aurora, when's the best time? Well, it runs throughout Aurora season. It just all depends what kind of other activities you want to do with that. The coldest and darkest time of the year is probably January and early February. From mid-February on, we start to, after December 21st, actually, we start gaining daylight. And Fairbanks, as you can tell already, is a place of extremes. Everything happens quick. We're either losing or gaining 6 minutes of light a day. So before we know it, it gets real dark, and then before we know it, it gets light again. So there are a number of different activities and things that go on during the winter time. A lot of people try to plan their trip for mid-February into March, because that's where you can also witness the World Ice Art Championships, which is, there's a photo of it here. The photos just do not do it justice. It's a great time of year to be here. The World Ice Art Championships are going on. The Yukon Quest dog sled race, Open North American, oftentimes the Iditarod race starts from here in Fairbanks as well. So we definitely stay active. Whether we have a couple ski areas here for you skiers and snowboarders, we have cross-country skis that are available to rent. A lot of people go snowshoeing. A lot of people make the drive down to Denali or find a way to go further up north. And as a matter of fact, I think that's what our next slide talks about, is Fairbanks being the base camp to adventure. By flying into Fairbanks, as I mentioned before, Denali or McKinley is in our purview. It's about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive, depending on if you drive like a maniac like I do, or if you take your time and want to pull over from time to time and see stuff. And as a visitor, that's probably what you're going to want to do. Denali, McKinley is very accessible to anybody visiting Fairbanks. There are tour companies that will take you down into the park for just a day. Independent travelers may want to drive down there and spend a couple nights. And the train goes from Anchorage, Alaska to Fairbanks, Alaska, but it often also stops in Denali/McKinley. A lot of people will spend the night there. It's beautiful, beautiful place to visit. Probably your best chance at seeing wildlife in Alaska and interior Alaska, especially. It's not uncommon to see moose near Chena Hot Springs, and in the wintertime, I get them in my yard all the time. A little information from you might not think about. We see more moose in our yards in Fairbanks around Halloween, and the reason why is because they love pumpkins, and they will get right on your porch and they will eat the pumpkin. So we try to take the candles out before they do. But yeah, so if you want to see wildlife, a great place to see it is in Denali. You can independently drive a short ways into Denali, but they have free buses that will take you in beyond the point where you can drive. And there's other tour buses that will take you in. You can hop off at various points, do some hiking around. It's a beautiful way. Some people want the narrated tours. Some people want to take the bus in at a certain point, get off and hike around and spend as much time as they want and catch a bus later on. And there's an eerie kind of quiet if you go to Denali and you do that, when you get off the bus to go hiking. And when that bus drives away, and as soon as you can't hear that bus anymore, it's kind of hard to describe what the silence is like. It's just a void of noise that some people may never have experienced, but it's great to be able to do that in the summertime and in the wintertime. Of course, you got Denali down on one end, and then you've got the Arctic Circle up above us. We have a couple of great tour providers where you can fly up into the gates of the Arctic and the Kobuk National Park, to Coldfoot and Wiseman, which are beautiful places in the summertime, and it's great aurora viewing in the wintertime. Only, I should have the statistic in front of me. I forget if it's 1 or 3% of the people that visit Alaska make it up above to or above the Arctic Circle. And there's a place there at the Arctic Circle where it lets you know. So there's a viewpoint there where you can take pictures in front of the official sign and step over the Arctic Circle line. But a lot of adventure up there. You can go up there and spend the night during aurora season. You can kayak, canoe, and even mountain bike up above the Arctic Circle in the wintertime. So once again, bragging rights. Oh, and there is the picture of a couple folks in front of the Arctic Circle sign. And to the left, I remember that one. That is that's somebody hiking in Denali. And as I mentioned before, you don't have to necessarily go far in Alaska to feel like you're the only person on the planet, because it's easy to get away. Even some of the hiking trails just right near or outside of town. It's a very special place. The whole state, like I said, you will never, you can't go wrong. There's beauty everywhere. The state is just different. The way I like to put it is, Anchorage is a city that happens to be in Alaska, because it's a big city, but it's definitely Alaska. And it's Alaska all around. It's a great thing. So Fairbanks is Alaska that just happens to have a city in it. So it's much more rural. All the amenities are here for you, but it's just a much smaller community to be able to welcome. There is a picture down here on this slide of somebody who has a motorhome, whether they drove up the Alcan Highway or whether they rented them here, and you're able to do that. This is most likely, well, this is near Denali. When you go up above the Arctic Circle, you don't want to take your own vehicle up there. As a matter of fact, the rental companies will say you cannot do it, because it beats I got to watch my language when I describe it. It'll beat the heck out of whatever it is that you're driving. It's like a washboard road, and that's a road where the ice road truckers and the truckers use for transportation. So it's definitely a beautiful place to visit, visiting with the right people. It's one of those things where you don't necessarily want to just take your vehicle up there, because you might not get it back down again. So we call Alaska, or Fairbanks, Alaska's base camp for adventure for a reason, and that's it. So I believe we have another slide here. Okay, good. So I will describe what's in these photos to give you a little bit of an idea. The one in the upper left, that's the Festival of Native Arts. One of the things about Alaska, much like our friends in Hawaii, we have a lot of things in common. Alaskans like to spend a lot of time there, and they like to spend a lot of time here. So what Hawaii and Alaska have in common is that we're both part of the United States, but both kind of not. This is where the whales spend the time, like a lot of us do. The summers in Alaska and winters in Hawaii. And the other thing is that we both have a deep respect for the indigenous people, and the people whose land this originally was, that we're on now. So we have things like the Festival of Native Arts, which you can see here, that happens in the wintertime. In the summertime, we have the World Eskimo Indian Olympics. We have the Athabascan Fiddle Festivals. We have a number of things that are going on that are a celebration for the indigenous people. And the thing I like to point out about all of these things, like the Festival of Native Arts, this isn't something that they put on a show for visitors. It's not like a luau where, they get dressed up and they do this thing for visitors. This is what they do. They're going to do this whether we go watch it or not. This is a celebration for them. And I've mentioned before, it's impossible to walk into one of these events and not have a smile plastered on your face, because they're enjoying it so much. For a lot of them, it's a family reunion, because they come from all over the state to attend these things, and some of their friends and neighbors they haven't seen in years. And so it's a great opportunity for us to find out a little bit more about, again, the indigenous people of Alaska, who we have total respect for, current and the Alaska elders and that type of thing. Next to that, up on the top, that very odd looking building is a beautiful one. That's the University of Alaska Museum of the North. The University of Alaska has campuses in Fairbanks, Anchorage, the southeast, but the museum for the entire system is here in Fairbanks, Alaska, and it is a beautiful one. The gallery is great to see. The museum is huge. They break it down to different sections of Alaska, so I would definitely plan on spending some time at the Museum of the North, and give yourself a little buffer on each end, because you might think that you might spend half an hour there, but it's easy to get wrapped up into what they have there. And the building itself is beautiful and is an architectural masterpiece. Next to that is the Santa Claus House, which is in the city of North Pole, Alaska, which is 12 miles out of Fairbanks. It's also on the Alaska-Canadian Highway. So if you drive up to Fairbanks on that highway, a lot of people that come up in motorhomes or campers, they always make that stop there. People venture out to Santa Claus House in the actual city of North Pole, Alaska. They say where it's Christmas every day, where the light poles look like candy canes. Then people leave their Christmas decorations up all year round, not because they're lazy like some of us in Fairbanks do. It's because they're celebrating Christmas year round. That's what they do. And this is Santa Claus House. And Santa Claus is also there to visit with people year in, year out. And a unique thing about visiting Santa Claus House is you can write a postcard to somebody or buy a gift or leave it there, and they will send it out and right before Christmas and postmark it. So your little niece or your nephew or grandkids will get a postcard from Santa Claus House that has North Pole post stamp right on it. So it's a wonderful thing to do. Back underneath the Festival of Native Arts, we have that odd looking farmhouse. That's Creamer's Field. It's a bird sanctuary, and migratory birds stop in there. We have the Sandhill Crane Festival. So a beautiful trail system there. It's just outside of Fairbanks. Of course, that's free, like a number of things are. It's amazing. Cranes, ducks, swans, geese. And sometimes it's just ridiculous. And we love seeing them come into the Fairbanks area when they fly overhead, because that means summertime's on the way. We don't like it as much when they're leaving, because that means winter is on the way too. But they have a lot of great, like I said, the Sandhill Crane Festival happens in August, and they have a great informational farmhouse there you can stop into. Next to that, somebody's doing some ice fishing out in the open, and that's definitely one way to do it. There are a number of different places where you can sign on with, and they have anywhere from 3-hour to 6-hour ice fishing excursions. You can also buy your fishing license and go out and do it on your own if you would like. Some people like to do it out in the open. There are a lot of heated units where people can sit inside and do your fishing. And like I said before, great thing is you fish, they'll fillet your fish and they'll cook it up for you right there. And it's a delicious and great way to spend an afternoon. Great photo opportunity. But I will do what they will do if you go out to one of these things: warn you about your phone. You have no idea how many people, even though they're warned, drop their phones. And once they go down to the bottom of this lake, you're just not getting it back. So definitely find a way to court it, because people take them, oh no, and then they lose their phone. Happens all the time. This is a nice hike just outside of Fairbanks. Next to that, there are plenty of places, and you can walk in most places wherever you want, whenever you want. But in some areas like Denali and some of the parks, they prefer that you walk on these pathways if you can, just to cut down on the vegetation. And this is a well-used area. There are a lot of areas where you go out to, and it just doesn't matter. You can walk anywhere you want. I talked about the train a little bit earlier. It travels year-round from Anchorage all the way up to Fairbanks. It's a great way to do it. A lot of independent travelers may want to fly into one, spend some time, take the train, maybe stop at Denali, go down to the other one and fly home from there. Also, I will include in this, we haven't talked much about cruises because a lot of people come up to Alaska via the cruise. Fairbanks, even though we're in the middle of the state, we jokingly, semi-jokingly refer to ourselves as the farthest north cruise port. Obviously, you can't get here on a cruise ship, but if you take a cruise ship up, this is what's considered a land excursion. So a lot of people will take the cruises up to Seward near Anchorage, get on the train. It's a package you can take, spend a day in Denali, come all the way up to Fairbanks, spend a day or two, and then fly home, or do it from the reverse angle. So there is also a train, if you're independent travel, that travels once or twice a week, depending on the time during the winter time. So the winter train from Anchorage to Fairbanks or vice versa, beautiful. The folks here taking picture in front of one of our many murals in downtown Fairbanks. Fairbanks is a very artistic place. We have a lot of murals. Our farmers markets are great. Our craft fairs are awesome. One of the reasons why we have a lot of artists here is because the winters, the days are very short. So a lot of people can spend time indoors. So it's not uncommon for somebody who does pottery, or who's a painter, or some type of an artist, a carver, a knitter, whatever they do. They spend the winter months doing those things. And then in the summertime, during the farmers markets, they sell their wares. So it's a great way to pick up a souvenir that's actually made here in Fairbanks or made somewhere in Alaska, as opposed to buying something from somewhere that's made somewhere out of Alaska, brought up to Alaska and sold. So it's a great way. I always say, if you ever want to write a screenplay or your manuscript or a book, Valerie, wintertime in Fairbanks is a good time to do it, because it's guilt-free to be indoors, because it's dark a lot. We have somebody here. There's a number of different places, but I'm guessing this might be with Running Reindeer Ranch. We have a number of different places where you can go out and spend time walking in the boreal forest with reindeer. Very friendly animals. There's a great story there to tell, a great photo opportunity. We love them up here. Next to that, with the flowers in the building in the background, that is the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. It's open year-round. It's a great place, I say, to visit out front on your trip. They have a lot of displays, a lot of information. Mostly during the summer, they'll have people doing performances and stuff. And we have a lot of folks that are born and raised here who just love sharing information with you. And they can tell you where to go. A lot of people come up and they visit, and they're on a predetermined trip and they don't have a lot of time. But usually when you visit somewhere, I know I do, you want to see those things, but you also want to hang out with the locals or find out what the locals do or meet local people. And the people in Alaska, that's one thing, Fairbanks in particular, we get comments all the time, is how friendly and outgoing the people are. I always tell people, those of you old enough and who imbibe, if you want to hang out with the locals, go down to some place like Hoodoo Brewery at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, grab a pint and look at the person next to you and say, "So what's your story?" And you'll make a friend and you'll talk for hours. If you even get that far, there's a good chance they can tell you're not from here, and they're going to ask you what your story is and where you're from. So plenty of great ways to hang out with the locals. And there are a lot of things that you can do independently away from some of the tours that are custom made. And the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, where Explore Fairbanks is a great place to do that. And to the right, finally, we have a picture of the folks at Chena Hot Springs, which is about an hour out of town. I love going out to Chena Hot Springs in the summertime. It's always great. But for some reason, the colder it is and the snowier it is, that's when I like to go out there, because there's the uniqueness, like in this picture. I'm surprised it's not as foggy as it often is. It must be warmer at this time, because when it gets really cold, it's very foggy. There could be somebody standing 5 feet from you and you would never know it. So Chena Hot Springs is a great place to go. They have great, it's outside of Fairbanks, so they have great aurora viewing activities there as well. They have overnight capabilities in some of their lodgings. Some of them are cabins. I highly suggest that you rent one of the cabins. And usually if you're in the cabin, right next to it is, they don't have indoor plumbing in their cabins, they have outhouses. And for some people, they're like, no way, especially if it's 30, 40 below. But I tell you what, if you want an Alaska story, try that. And don't worry, even if you do get in a cabin and you don't want to use the outhouse, about 50 to 100 feet away, there's plenty of heated indoor facilities that you could use. Another unique thing about Chena Hot Springs Resort is they have a year-round ice museum with an ice bar in it. So the ice museum, they have carvers there and some great displays inside you can go into year-round. They also have an ice bar where you can purchase an apple martini out of a martini glass that's made out of ice. It's a very unique opportunity, and it's cool to do it if you go in the summertime visits. They have coats that you can wear because it's a little chilly in there. But I've also been out there in the winter when it's 20 or 30 below outside. You can actually go into the ice museum and go, oh, it's warm in here. So it all how you react to that, it depends on that time of year. What's new for 2026? There's always new things going on up here, some to smaller degrees and some to larger degrees. A couple of the big shiny objects that may interest you is the Fountainhead Transportation Museum. Now, the Fountainhead Auto Museum is something, if you're an automobile fan, it's a must. If you're not, it's kind of a must too. If somebody tells me, you want to go to an auto museum when I'm visiting somewhere, and most likely I'd go, I don't know, that's not really my thing. But you have to trust me. Valerie will back me up on this one. It's an amazing world-class museum. The first thing people ask is, okay, why is this in Fairbanks? Because it would be thriving in Las Vegas, New York, LA, any big city. This place would be thriving. They're all pre-World War II cars. It's very unique because there's about 120 vehicles in the Auto Museum now. Only 92, I believe, are on display at any given time, and all of them but 2 run. So what they call it, a living museum. By looking at them, you would never know that they start them once a year and they take them out, because the people that own this, they're automobile freaks, but they also say, that's why we have it, because so we can take these cars out. So it's a beautiful museum where they display and some of them are the only ones left of their kind in the world. So it's very interesting. It's kind of a 3-pronged museum, the auto museum, and then they also have, they call it costuming, but it's clothing from those times, which to some people is almost as impressive as the cars. And so they match the clothing from the time with the cars, and it makes an amazing story to be told. And then, of course, all the photos they have up around, which tell the history of those cars. And a lot of them have a history here in Fairbanks. The reason we bring this what's new for 2026 is because they're going to be expanding into a much bigger area, about 4 or 5 times what it is now. So they'll be able to display all of their vehicles, and they are working in conjunction with the Aviation Museum. So now the amazing stuff that they did with automobiles, they're going to be doing with airplanes as well. So they're going to be telling the aviation history about Fairbanks. Also, as you would guess, Fairbanks and Alaska has more pilots and small planes than any place else on the planet per capita, because for a lot of people up here, those are the cars. There's so many rural communities and villages and fish camps that you can only get to from the air. And so the aviation history is rich here in Alaska. A lot of people don't realize Howard Hughes flew up to Fairbanks, Alaska. A lot of people don't realize Will Rogers not only flew up here with Wiley Post to do some writing, but he actually passed away in a small plane here in Alaska. Don't let that scare you away. We have more safety features in place now than we did when Will Rogers came up. But a fascinating aviation history now is going to be combined with the automobile history for the Fountainhead Transportation Museum. Another big one that people will make pilgrimages up here just to see this is Bus 142 at the Museum of the North. And a lot of people might go, okay, what would be special about Bus 142? Some people think they should have renamed it from bus 142 to the McCandless bus or the Into the Wild bus, because that's what this bus is famous for. It's the one that McCandless made the pilgrimage out to and died at. And that was the story of Into the Wild, which was told in a book and which was told in a movie. Where it was, it's been in that place for a long time. It was very unsafe. People would still make it the pilgrimism out there. And sometimes they had to be rescued. And some people didn't make it back. So what they did is they decided to take this bus and move it to the University of Alaska Fairbanks Museum of the North, where it will be on display. A lot of people wanted to display that bus. They let the museum do it. One of the stipulations was that you could never charge anybody to see it. So they're in the process now. It should be coming in 2026, where it will be on display outside. You can visit that bus, get your photos taken with it. They have more information inside. And one of the reasons I call it Bus 142 instead of just the Into the Wild bus is because the history of that bus started out as a city bus here in Fairbanks. It was used by miners. It was also used by gold miners and things as a Passover place. There's a rich history of what happened in that bus. It was used at Denali for a while. So the history of Bus 142 is a book. The Into the Wild part of it, the McCandless part, is one chapter. Now, it's the most famous chapter and the one people know the most about, and one of the reasons why people will want to come and visit it. But the bus itself has a fuller, richer history, and that will be told at the University of Alaska Museum of the North. Now, a lot of lodgings and activities up here are adding new things in 2026. And I put the Orion at A Taste of Alaska Lodge on there. Corey Eberhardt at A Taste of Alaska Lodge does a great job. He also has Aurora Point, which is a great place to go Aurora viewing for an evening. But he is expanding and adding a place called the Orion, which will offer more unique lodgings there. We have Borealis Base Camp, which is about 45 minutes out of town. Those are the domes. They've added cubes. They're always adding things. Pike's Landing, which is a well-known lodging here in Fairbanks, always adding new stuff. So people are always adding new lodgings and adding on to activities. So there's always new things going on. And that's, again, why a stop or a call or a visitor's guide from Explore Fairbanks will help you in that journey. I put down Humble Roots Brewing here because it was on there before, just to give us an idea of the brewery, distillery, the foodie scene here is really expanded and it's huge and there's a lot going on. And Humble Roots is located in downtown Fairbanks. Great new brewery. Conveniently located about a block from the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center, where Explore Fairbanks is located. So I've had to take a few business trips there in the afternoon from time to time, just for work. You know how it is. So those are some of the things that are coming up new in 2026, Valerie. And I'm sorry, I didn't know how much time I was supposed to give you to talk, if I was just supposed to ramble, but you know me, I ramble.
No, this was amazing. And before we started recording, you were worried you maybe wouldn't go long enough. I know that's never a problem, not just for you, but I know that when Alaskans start talking about Alaska, they're passionate and excited, especially those of you or me who work in tourism, who want people to have a great experience. So I wasn't worried at all that we would have plenty to talk about. Let's jump into some questions. And as a reminder, if you've been watching and you have questions, post them in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, reach out to @Explore Fairbanks on social media if you are listening to the podcast, or you can reach out to me @Valerie Valise. I'm on social media as well. So with that, let's get into the pre-submitted questions. We have a question from Mia. Excuse me. She's traveling with a smaller dog, but I think in years past I've had this question as well, and it's just if there's any dog-friendly restaurants. So she's actually going to be, I think, flying up with her dog, but traveling around and wants to know what her options are.
Well, I mean, we're goodness knows we love dogs up here, and there's plenty of places for them to run around. And a lot of times during the summertime, especially, there's a lot of outdoor dining options. So that's usually never a problem. But a lot of people, especially with small dogs and service dogs, it's like most restaurants are understanding and welcoming. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say which ones they are, because that's nothing that I know. But I know a number of restaurants are dog friendly. a little easier in the summertime because, like I said, you can dine outdoors more than you can in the wintertime.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. And then I would sort of add on, and this is great advice in general. If you're visiting Alaska and you have a special accommodation, call the business.
Right.
Phones still work really well, and a lot of Alaskan businesses, that's going to be the most effective way to get information. So, Mia, if you're looking at a specific restaurant and you're wondering if they have a patio, if they allow dogs, just call them during business hours and see what they say.
Right. And
Um,
if you're going to get tricky, if it's a large dog and it's the wintertime, just put a park on it, pull up the hood, and kind of put it in a chair next to you. Nobody will probably even notice a difference.
In case you haven't figured it out yet, Jerry does comedy too. I still haven't seen your comedy video, but I'm waiting.
Okay.
Next trip.
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a question. It's a good tie-in. This comes from Vicky about kid-friendly places. So you've raised your family in Alaska.
Yes.
What are some of your favorite places to take kids that have good food, not just like chicken nuggets and stuff?
Boy, there were some. I don't know if any of the places are meant food-wise specifically for kids, but of course they all have kid-friendly options. So as far as foodies, it can be anywhere. I mean, obviously, like I guess I could say that about anywhere. The fine dining where there might not be as much to excite their vision, but especially in the outdoors in the summertime, every place is kid friendly, just because there's a lot to keep their attention and all. Any hidden gems or hikes? Holy cow! That's any gems that out there. We don't like to hide, so there's nothing like that. There's just a number of great opportunities, and there are some very established trails like Creamer's Field and the pedestrian bridges in downtown Fairbanks and that type of stuff. But again, it doesn't take long for you to go out. There's Birch Hill, there's Chena Lake Recreational Area, Tanana Lake Recreational Area. There's a lot of great hikes where when you go out to Angel Rocks on the way out to Chena Hot Springs, a number of great hikes where you probably shouldn't be surprised if you just don't encounter anybody, even though they're well-maintained, well-marked trails. So everything, you don't have to go very far to get on a trail and feel like it's a hidden gem, even though it's out in the open in broad daylight.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a funny thing that I think people think we're hiding all the good stuff in Alaska. And it's just out there. It is.
It is.
And Alaskans are happy to share it. It's a wonderful thing about Alaska.
The only thing we will not share is our favorite blueberry picking place.
Okay. That's fair.
Nobody will do that because everybody has a favorite place to pick blueberries during blueberry season.
That's fair.
In Alaska, they're bigger, they're juicier, they're thicker.
Yeah.
Same thing where somebody, like a lot of times, won't tell you their favorite fishing hole. It's the same kind of thing. But aside from fishing and blueberries, we'll tell you where everything is.
Well, and if you want to pick blueberries, I can tell you the Arctic Valley near Anchorage is a good option, and they're very, it's big enough that everybody can find blueberries up there.
Sure.
Okay, let's do one more question because we're pushing up to an hour. This is a great question. I think that it's a specific question about the riverboat discovery, but it's a good to sort of have a general conversation about how far in advance you need to book things in Fairbanks when you're planning a trip in general.
That's a very interesting one. And it just kind of depends. It's never a bad idea to book things out further in advance. There's especially certain times of years where it will be hard to get lodgings at some of these Aurora places and stuff during the very popular month of March, or certain places during the summer. The riverboat, as an example, that's maybe capable of the largest crowds because they can hold up to 700 people on that riverboat. It's not uncommon that they have them on there, and they sometimes run 2 times a day. So the riverboat is something, with anything, you should make reservations far enough in advance, at least reserve it for things like that, maybe for Running Reindeer Ranch, a number of things, but don't necessarily let that scare you away as an independent traveler. The riverboat in itself, if you're up here for a couple of days, you're going to be able to find a time to get on it. But when it comes time to things that are smaller tours, like maybe Running Reindeer Ranch or Ice Fishing Lodge or some of those kind of things, the further you can book in advance, the better.
Yeah, that's great advice. My general rule is as soon as you know the dates, if you know you want to do something, get it locked in.
Yeah.
And a lot of places have pretty reasonable cancellation policies if your plans change, not like day
Definitely.
of cancellation, but if you
Yeah.
suddenly have a change of plans a couple weeks or a couple months out, you can adjust.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so with that, I will say thank you again, Jerry, for joining me and sharing your enthusiasm for Fairbanks. Hopefully, we've convinced some people to make the extra journey up to Fairbanks, because I think there's a fair number of people who go to Denali and like, oh, is it worth it to go to Fairbanks? And you've done a great job convincing them that it is worth going to Fairbanks.
Thank you. And I apologize. I had no idea this was an hour, but if it makes you feel any better, when you close this off, I'm still going to sit here in a room by myself, probably talking about Fairbanks. So,
Well, there you go. That's your enthusiasm. As a reminder, you can leave comments. Just one last reminder there. There's also the show notes below the video or on your podcast player with some helpful links, including the link to Explore Fairbanks in case you want to get more information or request a visitor guide, as well as a few blog posts that I have that I think you'll find helpful. Which reminds me, you might have also noticed some little bubbles pop up during the course of Jerry talking. Those are just extra links that I found helpful. So you may need to like scrub back if you're watching the video and find those. But there's so much information that I could share. I think we could have bubbles all over the screen while we're talking. With that, I'll wrap things up and just say one last time, thank you so much, Jerry, for joining me today.
thank you for inviting me, and we look forward to seeing you all in Fairbanks.